Okay, we're checking here. Are we live? Okay. I didn't see. I removed the screen and I didn't see if it was live or not. Okay, guys, welcome this evening. Welcome and Kato Floyd. Go to bed now. You can watch the replay. Glad to have you here, my friend. Glad to have you here. Roberto, Great Gold, Finger for the Moon. Nieto Sec. Robot Glock. Goodness, can't see all of this here. Sparking Joy, Entire Meyer, Art Constantino, James Mason, Maxi Blue, All Aces, Ishlan Joshi, George Velez, Jade Finch, Scene, PP Sam Vega. Hello, guys. Glad to see you here, and of course, I see your comments all the time as well on the videos. So, what we're going to talk about today? Hello, Storm. What name are you using here? Storm Cloak Bloke. Oh, that's a different person. Eagle Soars. One of the things I want to talk about today is kind of an advanced use of browser isolation. So, if you haven't watched my last video, watch that and you'll get kind of a good sense of what that's all about. But just to summarize, the principle is that there's only two companies that really you have to worry about with browser isolation, because anyone can do browser fingerprinting, but only two companies really matter because no one has the ability to collect a database. So even if one website does browser fingerprinting on you, it'll only be of value to that website. In order for this to be a privacy risk, it has to be an issue among the entire internet. If somebody can capture your data by browser fingerprinting over the entire internet, it's a big deal, and only two companies can do that, and those are Facebook and Google. And I told you that the trick is to isolate only Facebook and Google. You don't have to worry about anything else unless you want to. Now, what is the advantage of doing this? And some of you are saying, "Oh, I don't have to do that. I can do Firefox containers and private sessions on Brave and all this." Trust me, my way is going to be much more effective to take it to the next level, guys. The next level. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's not just about hiding from the Googles and the Facebooks. It's about the next level, which is how do you feed them disinformation. People have asked me constantly, how do you feed disinformation? You've been on the internet forever, and there's so much information about you, and you need to break the cycle, and the only way to do that is through disinformation. Let's just say, for the sake of an example, that let's say you're conservative, and you've been on the conservative platforms on the internet. You're on Gab AI, you're on Parler, you watch Fox News, and even those alone will be enough to profile you. So if you're using a browser like Chrome, and you're on YouTube on one side, and you go to Gab, Parler, and Fox News on the same browser, you're pretty much zocked. You're zocked. You're done. Because Google will now say, "Oh, we got all the information about you. You're on Parler, you're on Gab, you're on when you go to Twitter, they'll say, "Oh, that must be your conservative account on Twitter," and they'll know based on your activity how much time you spend doing political things or watching political things on the internet. Now, would you like to learn how to fool the system so that Google knows the opposite about you? And the way to do that is to use browser fingerprinting in reverse. Because let me tell you about browser fingerprinting. That's very, very interesting. When you're running Chrome and you should do this on Chrome. Make it easy for Google to go figure you out. Use Chrome for this. This will be your disinformation browser. Use Chrome. And then on Chrome, you're logged in. You're logged into YouTube. Pick whatever account you want to send disinformation on. So let's say Robot Glock wants to pass himself off as opposite of what he is. And let's say he's conservative and now he wants to be perceived by Google as a liberal. And that's really good, because then their AI gets confused until they say, I give up. I don't know anything about you, I keep thinking Robot Glock. So I don't know anything about you, so I'll ignore all the information and consider it false. So that's the way to do it. If you falsify the information, what happens is the AI looks at your data and says, bad data, discard. Bad data, guys. So what is the approach? So you are on Chrome and you're logged into Chrome, and this is like even better. You're logged into Chrome, which means it's like best case scenario here. You may want to even temporarily turn off activity controls on Google just to give them a database. And because you're logged in, whatever you do is going to be known by the browser, and they're going to fingerprint you exactly with all the websites you're doing. Leave your search engine onto Google, and then start giving out the disinformation. Remember, don't do any real thing on this browser other than what we're talking about here. This is a single purpose browser, and the purpose is only to send disinformation. Do your normal stuff on Firefox, but do not put any Google on there. So if you're conservative and you want to go to Fox News and all that, do it on Firefox. Don't do it on the Chrome account. On the Chrome account, you're going to pass off the opposite side, and you're going to go do all the things that all the liberal websites, and to make sure it's opposite of what you believe. Or confuse the issue, go to the middle. Whatever, you can choose. The point is, it's almost like a direct line to Google saying, Google, believe this. This is what I am. So you go and have a direct line to them, and this is like rare that they actually that you actually have a way to pass information back. Usually it's the other way around, and normally Google has to be sneaky as far as taking your information, and this is so funny because instead of you having to be sneaky, you're going to be flat out open about it and say, I've got nothing to hide. So I'm going to go to CNN now. So you search for it on YouTube, go to CNN, do all that, and watch all the Biden YouTubes. That will really, really confuse the AI. Now, on the other side of things, I don't know how many accounts you want to do this to, but so that you remember, here's a little trick too. So that you remember, you may want to, put some favorites on your Chrome, and every time you turn on once a day, you go in there and start clicking on all these sites that you think you ought to be profiled into. So if you want to be profiled to be liberal, then you put your CNN and all that on the top bar. You go in and turn on your computer and start clicking on those, and be logged into YouTube, be logged into to Google and to Chrome. And there you are. Now, this only works if you actually keep the other side of it completely separated. Complete browser isolation on the other side. Now, some people will say, well, I want to watch other things on YouTube. What if I want to look at guns on YouTube and I don't want them to see that? So now you may have to have another browser. You may need another browser now where you never log in to anything and you just watch things on there, in a controlled fashion. Will you mix it up with the one on Firefox? No, don't. Because, Google is the only dangerous one here. So you can do anything else. You can go to Twitter. You can go to anything else on, other than Facebook. Not Facebook either. You can do anything else on the second browser, the one I stated as being Firefox. But don't do it on the first browser. So the first browser will always be Chrome doing things that you want Google to know about you. And then the third browser is where you might want to have Google again, but a different kind of Google where you never log in. You can do anything you want on that, as long as you never log in. Now, don't forget, because if you forget and you get confused with the browser, you're going to mess it up. Don't forget. So again, maybe put a label on the favorites and say, YouTube, do not log in, or something like that in the title. So when you go in there, that's where you watch your, the things that you do not want to be profiled with. So that's, guys, it's a little bit more of an advanced technique, because it actually means that we're not just hiding our data, we're actually sending them bad data. And that's really what's interesting about this approach. Now, switch this if you're liberal and you want to, not appear liberal to Google, then do the reverse of what I just said. So there's no, you can do whatever you want. You can believe whatever you want, and this allows you to do that, and you won't be influenced. Now, there is no way to trick yourselves to, it's a little bit difficult with Facebook, to be honest with you. I don't. The problem is you are crowd verified on Facebook, so you can say whatever you want to say in the open, and then you're going to say, well, I'm actually this. Then you have a private conversation, and they sneak up on you. It just doesn't work on Facebook. Then they know, well, your wife believes this, your kids believe that. If I were to look and see what you really believe, I'll look at your kids and see what they believe, because your kids are going to follow you. So that's how I would gauge what your profile is. And I'll look at your relatives, and I'll look at your family, because statistically you will tend to follow your family when it comes to political beliefs. So if you want to not be profiled, Facebook is not going to work. So for those on Facebook, you should have no opinion whatsoever. Never discuss anything. I wouldn't be on Facebook, period. So I don't know. I don't think there's a safe way to use Facebook, to be honest with you. In fact, I'm going to be strongly saying this. If you're on Facebook, you really shouldn't be watching me, because it's kind of a waste of time. I mean, what am I going to tell you? I'm going to tell you to do this, do that, and you're going to say, but I can't leave Facebook. And then everything I tell you will be canceled. With Facebook, you do not need any kind of VPN. They'll track you from the photos, from your friends, from anyone around you, from people even in the area taking a picture and you're in the background. If you're going to be in Facebook, word zuck. There's nothing I can do. So if you're going to stay on Facebook, then kind of stay in the background, because there's not much I can help you with. Just eye the rest of us and say, I wish I were free. Because if you're Facebook, you think you're free. Many of you think you're free. A lot of you come and make comments on my YouTube videos and say, you're zucking paranoid. You're paranoid. Or you better live in a cave. And it's like, sheep. I don't know what to tell you. You're already being controlled now, and you're saying, oh, I guess I don't really care, if my opinion matters or not. Yes, you're going to be driven by whoever. The agenda is always driven by somebody else. You never get a choice. You never say, well, this is really what I feel important about. Nope. Not to whoever decides whatever. They'll set the agenda, not you. So there's nothing free about that, my friends. Nothing free. Okay, guys, if you are just coming in here, there's a lot of you here, and very few of you leave likes. So let's help the algorithm think about that. This video is actually worth recommending by hitting the like button. If you want to help the channel. If you don't want to help the channel, that's okay. But if you want to help the channel, hit the like button, and that will help the AI decide that this should be worth sharing and recommending. Now, let's talk about the next topic, and this has to be connected now to the shopping season, which is upon us here. Supposedly Black Friday is coming in a week, and I don't even know how's that going to work. I guess there is not going to be a Black Friday. Who's going to go to the mall? Here in California, we have a curfew. We can't even go to a restaurant. So I don't know. So apparently we're in curfew till almost Christmas. So it wouldn't surprise me if they extended the curfew till Christmas. So what the heck are we going to do? So a lot of you are thinking, okay, let me go buy some gadgets. So you're going to go look in the internet and see what the latest gadget is, and you're going to look at the latest iPhone and the latest Samsung, and you're going to say, look at the shiny little phones. I'm going to be so excited to get those. And I'm going to tell you guys, this is the year you change your approach. You do not need a new phone. Trust me on this. You do not need a new phone. If anything, you need a de-Googled phone. But if you decide that you don't want to do that at the moment, at the very least, don't put a lot of importance on your phone. So what I'm gonna recommend to you now is that this Christmas holiday, why don't you get a nice computer? Get a nice computer. Enjoy a nice computer. Computers are nice. I mean, I just bought one. I'm going to do a video on it. I bought a, so I have so many laptops here, can't even count. But I do buy a computer every year because that's what I do. It's my line of work, so it's kind of like my toolbox. So last year I had a Linux computer, a Star laptop. And I don't need to update that. It's fine for now. But what I needed was a way to do videos a little bit more quickly. And my current computer that I use, which is a HP, an HP Spectre X360, is what I use. And that transcodes a video or encodes a video for YouTube. I do 4K videos. That takes about, an hour and 15 minutes to an hour and a half to encode a video. I mean, it's like super slow. And you can't use the computer for anything else. When it's encoding, that's it. You're done. And so it is such a big deal on video day because it just occupies your computer and you're pretty much stuck. And if you make a mistake and you have to redo it, it's going to be another couple hours to redo. Let's say you did encode the video, and then you said, "Oh, mistake." Then you got to do it again, and add another couple hours to the time. Well, I got a new computer called an MSI Creator 15, and it's a beast. First of all, it's big. It's a laptop, but it's big. It's also like a gaming computer. But what it has a dedicated NVIDIA card on it, a 2070 NVIDIA, and it has 3 fans at the bottom, and it's like huge, and runs. The fans are always running because the CPU is really powerful. So anyway, I just did a test because I already did my video, and the computer only arrived yesterday. And so I already did a video, and I said, okay, how long would it take for me to encode a YouTube video on this? That took an hour and a half on the 8th generation Intel chip i7 on the HP Spectre X360. I told you that runs at about an hour and a half to do the job. And I tried it on the MSI Creator 15, and it took 8 minutes. 8 minutes! My gosh! 8 minutes! So guys, buy a computer. These new computers are great. 8 minutes. Okay? So it's like, I couldn't believe it. To encode a 4K video. So that was that was fun. So 8 minutes is incredible. And by the way, at 8 minutes, the CPU was at like 6%. The NVIDIA card GPU was at, I don't know, 30%. On the HP, it would be running 100% on the GPU and like 80% on the CPU. And this is a i7 10875H. So that's the model for the MS Creator 15. So it's super, super powerful, but not necessarily needed for everyone. It's kind of expensive, but kind of fun to see that. So when you're looking around and seeing what should you get for Christmas, get a nice computer with a nice screen. Why rely on your phone? Somebody was asking me advice about using a computer, and the response was, I can't use a computer. I got to use a phone. I got to, so I was suggesting a tablet. The only tablet that you can really use that's safe, because you don't want to use an iPad. The only tablet you can really use is a Microsoft Surface. And, and you have to configure that in 10 million ways to get rid of all the spyware from Microsoft. At least you could do it. With a Mac, with an iPad, there's nothing you can do. You're like stuck there. So a Windows computer, and my Windows computer, this is something I got to talk about. I'm trying to figure out how to make a video on this because it's really complicated to say. How do you configure a brand new Windows computer to be safe? And it's actually a pretty long process. And I'm not done yet. There's a few more things to do. So I'm trying to figure out how to explain that in a video, but it can be done. So I'll try to explain that. I'll try to explain that in a video. So you can make Windows safe. You cannot make an iPad safe. You cannot, obviously Linux computer is safe, but there are limits to what devices we can use. Because from a tablet point of view, what tablets are you able to use that's fairly fast? The only Linux tablet is what? The Pine Tab, which is slow. It's not a high-powered computer. So yeah, get a nice computer. If you want to experiment and have some fun, get a Linux computer. By the way, you don't need to buy a new Linux computer. You can buy a used computer and use it for Linux. Now the MSI Creator 15 that I have, I will dual boot it at some point when I'm done with all the Windows setup. I just got it, so there's not time enough to do that. And I'll explain to you how I did that, because I want to explain to you something that I talk about in my videos about how to set up a new computer. And I talk about this all the time about, the fact that I reset my computer frequently. In fact, when I got the computer, I tried it and I reset it already, because I made a mistake in how I wanted to set it up. And if you install your software, it's going to be hard. If you do a reset, you lose everything because you put everything where you're not supposed to. And that's one of the things I'm going to teach you, is how I set up my Windows computer, which will dual boot into Linux. So it doesn't matter which one I use. I can switch back and forth. Okay, so get a Raspberry Pi for tinkering. Yeah, you should do that. That's fun. I got Raspberry Pi 4B and it works pretty good. Dual monitors. Wow, you're kind of aggressive on a Raspberry Pi 4B. That's not exactly a power machine there. Windows is bunk. Anything not open source might as well be lit on fire at this point. Yeah, in theory. Unfortunately, that doesn't work in real life. So how to use Adobe Premiere Pro. So you ought to ask, Adobe, why are you not on Linux? So their response is probably, we don't care, we're making enough money, so now we're stuck. So we're stuck. So for professional video guys like me, we have to use the tools that save time, because otherwise, I've tried all the other ones that supposedly work with Linux, DaVinci Resolve and all that, and they don't really work too well. So you need a super powerful computer, and with video cards, and a lot of those have incompatibilities that are kind of hard to use. So I have to use Windows for that. So at least for the video side. But somebody would ask me, "Aren't you Linux?" How many Linux? First of all, how many Linux machines have I sold? I mean, I install Linux on everything I sell, and I've sold a lot of them. And I myself have dozens of Linux servers, and I have many Linux servers at home, and I have Raspberry Pis all learning Linux. Actually, when I'm on Windows, I'm on a Linux window. So most of the time I am working inside Linux, but on the servers. But I don't really care what the desktop is. Windows 10 Pro is a good place to start. So anyway, so that's my tip, guys. Be careful this holiday season. Don't be attracted to electronics of various sorts because you are looking for a gadget to give as a gift or for yourself. Do not buy anything that has voice. Let me repeat that. Do not buy anything with voice. Don't buy anything for your house that has voice. Okay? Push some zucking buttons. Okay? Don't get a voice activated that. Just get something with buttons and press the buttons. Okay? Put a remote control in your pocket. Something. Just stop buying things like that. Stop buying cameras that go put your data on the zucking internet, like Ring. Okay? Where they actually take your pictures and send it to the zucking police database. Okay? Which is, by the way, not the police. It's a third party. It's a mercenary firm. So why are you sending your data to Palantir? Don't do that. Stop buying all these new phones. Somebody keep asking me, "Oh, do you Google the latest, OnePlus 8T and the Pixel 5?" And it's like, please, people, stop being obsessed with technology to that extent. I'm a techie guy. Can you just be at least a year behind? I mean, I'm using an iPhone. Not an iPhone. I'm using a Pixel 4. Okay? That's my de-Google phone. It's kind of expensive to de-Google that. Expensive. You don't have to do that, but I happened to be testing it, so I said, okay, I'll switch to a Pixel 4. I was in a Pixel 3 before that. Before that, I was on a G7 Play. And before that, I was on a BlackBerry Bold. So, a year behind, 1-2 years behind. What's wrong with that? Why are you so reliant on your phone? Oh, the camera's so good. I need it for the camera because you can't afford to buy a real good camera like the one I'm using here or my other cameras over here. So come on, guys, buy here. This is where is that? This one. Awesome camera to buy. Where is it? Where'd I put it? I can't even find it. I have a Osmo Pocket, which is a gimbaled camera. It's so tiny. Where'd I put it? Awesome camera. So they'll probably come up with a new version. Thank you, Kier Ryder. Any update on your incognito wallet node? What do you mean update? I'm using incognito. I shouldn't be saying that because you never know. But yes, I support incognito. That's a great project. So I use incognito myself, and I do have a node. I have a Moto G5. I can't ROM flash for life of me. Sell it and get another one. By the way, you have a phone and you say, well, I can't de-Google this. Well, sell it and find something you can de-Google. The thing is that it's easy to buy and sell phones. You can buy and sell phones on eBay. It doesn't matter what phone it is. Somebody will buy it. So it's very easy to buy and sell phones. So you don't really have to worry about, oh, I have the wrong model. I have a Samsung S9, but I can't de-Google it because it's not the right model, which has to be a SM960F. I have the US model, which you cannot de-Google. You cannot de-Google the US model of Samsung. Get the international version. Sell your Samsung S9 and get the international version. Probably cheaper. So you see how easy that is? I mean, you don't make this too hard. Just buy computers for Christmas. Buy a used computer. You don't have to buy it new. But for goodness sakes, it's so easy to buy a computer on eBay and so on. Very easy nowadays. Let's say you say, well, I want a Mac. Buy a used Mac. Mac is fine. As far as using computers, they're all the same. They all spy on you. Just stay away from the mobile operating systems like Google Android and iOS. So that's why I don't recommend iPads. But Mac is fine. You can use a Mac. Okay, so yes, get the right technology, guys. I mean, this is the tech channel. We do want tech. We want good tech. We don't mind tech at all. We just want the good kind of tech. So, and if you want to experiment, this is a time, this holiday season, since you can't go anywhere, this is time to experiment with having your own server on Linode. So Linode is my sponsor. It's the sponsor of this live stream. And on Linode, you can set up a Nextcloud server, and that's something that you can experiment with, and it's so easy to set it up. Just go to linode.com, and you can actually play with it and learn how to do it. And you can actually get a credit of $100 for 2 months from Linode if you use the link in the which side? There. I guess that side. Okay. If you use the link on there, which is linode.com/RobBraxman, they'll give you a $100 credit for 2 months. I've been an avid Linode user today again. I had to do some tech support with Linode, and makes me actually start to appreciate data centers more than I ever have, because in the past I've just had so much trouble with all the data centers. And by the way, you don't get support from Amazon. So if you go to AWS, you don't get support from them. They actually consider you to, have to know all their little secrets, and it takes a while to learn that. And whereas what I do with Linode is very simple, and guess what? It's cheaper. It's cheaper. So please support Linode on your next attempt to learn something about computing. So I also have I have a new sponsor coming in this month, I guess, and there's not much time here, so I don't know when we'll get done with it. But my new sponsor will be YubiKey, Yubico. I have a video on YubiKey, so they're sponsoring me. So that. We'll be talking about them next week. Do you recommend any YouTube channel for de-Googling beginners? You have to, when you're de-Googling, you have to look at specific models. And for example, I found one that talked about de-Googling a Samsung S9. Since I was trying to de-Google a Samsung S9, it is zucking difficult. So far, I've failed. So I got to try again. So first pass didn't work. So it's very, very complicated. So yeah, there's so many hidden tricks that they don't tell you. Then you got to go figure it out. So I've got to go back to that channel that I saw. I can't remember the name right now, but it was Googling an S9, specifically about an S9 and Samsung S9, and the instructions for Samsung are a little bit more complicated than instructions for the other phones, because it's different. They use different bootloaders and everything is different. So how do you clone SIMs? The Chinese have a little device for that, and it's quite illegal to do that. Is rooting the same as de-Googling? No. Rooting gives permission for somebody to alter files at the root level, meaning all the actual, operating system files, which you do not want to give access to anyone, any program to do that. I do not I do not root phones. Phones that I ship out are not rooted. It's actually not necessary, and it's kind of dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. They're only used for experimentation. You wouldn't want to be like rooting, as a matter of course. I'm loading apps on my new de-Googled phone. Okay, Zeta Plus. Have you made a video on how to select a used Windows laptop? No. But I can give you tips. It depends on what you want to use. Some people said, what's good for Linux. I've been using a Lenovo I can't remember now. It's a T3, but it's kind of old now, and it's heavy and it's bulky, and the screen is not so bright. So so I think for Linux, the ones that are usable are Lenovo X1 Carbons. So you can check that out, Lenovo X1 Carbon. So you can get that fairly cheaply. I have many Macs as well here, and MacBook Airs and MacBook Pros, and one time I broke a MacBook Air, so I just bought a new one, and it was cheaper than getting it fixed. Just replace it with not a new one. I got a used one. Do these work? Does what work? Is Onion Share as good as a drive alternative? Don't know what Onion Share is. As of now, it's possible to remove Google account on any Android device. Tapping skip on first setup when asked to put in the email address. That enough to avoid tracking? No. Patrikfa. Is that a trick on Patricia? So anyway, no, and I explain that in my videos. The code is not in an app. The Google code that tracks you is embedded in the operating system, and simply not identifying the phone doesn't stop them from tracking, contact tracing and all that. That happens with the operating system. So the only way to do it is to not have Google in there at all. For example, just Google Drive. By the way, that's an example on a computer. Oh my gosh, the one thing you want to get rid of on a computer is not just Cortana. And on Windows computer, you don't want to just get rid of Cortana, which is obvious, but OneDrive, Microsoft OneDrive, that is that's an example of another way to trick you, and you start using OneDrive, and that is bad. I was using Adobe Premiere Pro, and it was storing my files in OneDrive, and I said, why are you storing? I didn't choose it to put it in OneDrive, but Adobe was putting it there. So when I reinstalled it on my new computer, I deleted OneDrive first, and now Adobe Premiere Pro does not put it in OneDrive. I should have done that, uninstall Adobe Premiere Pro and then put it back in only after I remove OneDrive. OneDrive is like Google Drive. So meaning you're keeping the drive at Microsoft so they can look at the files. So my answer to that is, Zebra U. We're not going to let you look at my files. So they're looking at my videos on the OneDrive. And it's like, Zebra that. We're not going to, not going to let them do that. So no Microsoft OneDrive. And if you actually look at all the things that they do in there, all the permissions, every time you do a search on any of the search windows on Windows, they actually send it to Microsoft. When you type any characters, they send it to Microsoft. When you anything, so you have to remove all that, and it's a bit of work to do. You have to remove all that because it's like you use OneNote. That is not OneDrive. OneDrive. It's called Microsoft OneDrive. You don't want that. Is it possible to hack cell phone data using SS7? It's possible to hack the SIM card data using SS7. How it hacks any other data beyond the SIM card is unknown. Can it do it? I'm going to say it's possible, but I don't know how. Okay? Presumably, there's been some new permissions now where SS7 is not allowed access to memory on the main computer, on the main phone, even if you share the memory with the baseband modem. So in theory, but who knows? Somebody from a 3-letter agency may have a backdoor in there that we don't know about. So you have to always assume that there's some way. Some cyber security researchers are overconfident about stuff like that. Well, no, there's a this and that permission and this and that, and you can't access the RAM even though it's shared between the baseband and the computer because you need a special permission. This, that, and maybe, but we don't really know. It's not open source, so you're guessing. Somebody promised you that it works, and you assume to be the case. Somebody told me, just as an example of people's trust. They say, well, but Apple says we get trust Apple because they're the privacy phone and they're the privacy company. They don't know how you spend your money on Apple Pay. Did you not know that it's encrypted? That they can't see whatever you do on Apple Pay, and it's like, these people are in like a dreamland. Dreamland. Data's flowing through your phone to Apple, and it's passing through a channel that is obviously credit card related, and you're saying, well, they can't see that. Well, they can see the metadata. They know where you are. They know what you just spent. They don't need to even see the actual transaction. There's enough in there to even figure out what you're up to. Then they can pull up your credit report from Equifax, since you already have a credit card with Apple when you go to the App Store. So that's what Facebook does. Facebook actually pulls your Equifax when you're untucking Facebook. I saw that in the news and was like, zebra. So you're actually going around and saying to me that I should trust Apple. Why are we supposed to trust Apple exactly? Is there anything that Apple has done that's open source? Is iOS open source? Is any of the Mac OS open source? Do they open anything on the Mac? They don't even open anything. It's completely closed. So you basically are trusting them when they say, we are this, we are that. How the heck do you know that? You don't know it. So why are you trusting them? I don't trust them because, they have too much. They're in possession of too much information, and that really bugs me. To me, the issue is deny them the information and you deny them the power. I was going to make that into a t-shirt. I just didn't know how to fit that. Deny them the information and you deny them the power. Because, instead of information is power, deny them the information, deny them the power. Privacy, that's a joke. Privacy, that's a joke. Is Parler spyware I don't know anything about Parler. I'm not on Parler. Okay, so don't ask me anything about Parler. I don't know anything. Greetings from Sweden. Now, how do I pronounce your name there? Kolbazalonaval. Kolbazalonaval. It's kind of tiny, so I hope I got that. No info, no power. So, and that's really the secret. So, do I trust Apple? No, because they have so much info. They have so much info. They have so much power. Do you trust Google? Google said they don't do evil, but they have so much data that they're able to do evil. Sometimes they actually don't think they're doing evil. By the way, when any entity censors you, they're actually doing evil. when any entity censors you, they're saying you do not have the capability to making your own choices by using the tools we give you to block content. They're saying you can't block, you can't unsubscribe because you're too dumb. You're too dumb to do that. You see something, you said, oh my gosh, I got to close my eyes because we got to control you. So we're going to decide for you by censoring. And that's just the beginning of the end. As much as I have distaste for whatever, needs to be censored, it may be the most distasteful thing. But when they start to make that choice, they're saying they're not going to make a democratic choice. They're going to make a choice on their own to do something like that. And some of you disagree. You're free to disagree. But, I'm going to stick with my opinion here because 1984. Pure censorship on 1984. They fucking changed history. In the book 1984, there was a department that did nothing but change history. Okay, and somebody was arguing with me about. I made a comment about New Zealand and the attack at the mosque there, and how the prime minister, was saying, "Well, we ban all media from talking about that incident," and that's a scary part, guys, because as much as it's distasteful to talk about the topic, in 1984 they changed history, so they can change history and say, well, Hitler never happened. Pol Pot in Cambodia never happened. Idi Amin never happened. All these things, they never happened. And where do you draw the line? We guys can censor ourselves. You can do your own censoring. Why don't you give every person a list of things and say, I will willingly censor this myself. I make the choice and I select it. You don't decide for me. I want to be able to decide it for myself. Okay? Decide, like say kid level. Okay, I'm a kid. Give me only kid level stuff. Other than that, you let me decide, and maybe I'll filter it. I don't want any human being in the back. This is one of the things that I have a video about this. This is one of the things that somebody planned, and good thing it failed because I don't hear anything about it anymore. But they actually wanted a group of journalists to filter your news. They actually want a group of journalists to say, oh yeah, that's fake news, that's real news. And they were going to have you put a browser extension and everything was going to be filtered out with a real flag from this little group of journalists. And yeah, they're really unbiased. So guys, decide for yourself. Use your brains. Don't let somebody decide anything for you. Don't let anything decide anything for you. Okay? Buy your own phones. Don't let advertising decide it for you. Use your head. Okay? Use your head. Don't buy anything for me. Decide for yourself. Oh yeah, I want to do that. Make your choice by yourself, and don't think that somebody was saying, how do we trust you with your VPN? Some of you know I have Bytes VPN. I don't really push Bytes VPN, as you know, because beyond this channel, you'll never hear about Bytes VPN anywhere else, because I'm not really interested in getting a zillion people on it. There's enough people on it. It's a good enough size, and it's enough it's enough for us. It's enough for us to hide. Okay, it's a good number to hide. We have a lot of servers. We're all over the world, and it's good enough. Do I need to make it a serious business and make millions from it? No. And do I really want that? No. Do I want to collect that kind of data? No. So somebody would say, well, we don't know who you are, so we'll trust NordVPN. It's like, okay, you're going to trust the guy with millions of users where they have the ability to collect your data, actually make something out of it. Whereas a little company like me, the data doesn't mean anything for me. Besides, there is no data. So, Tor Onion servers. I actually made a Tor service, hidden service for Brax.me at one point. I actually did that, which is a test, and it works, but not sure if anybody will want to use that. So, Have you thought in private messaging app an F-droid called Briar? Uh, isn't that the Signal thing? I mean, do we need any more messaging systems? I actually have a recommendation on a messaging system, on instant messaging system. So I have a recommended one, and another video that's keeps getting delayed, but it's a video. So I have a particular choice. I've talked about it on Brax.me. So that's all I will recommend is Rumble. I don't know what Rumble is. I'm on Odyssey Library. And by the way, I'm on Library. I'm number 36 right now on the platform, and I have 20. It's over 23,000 followers over there. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. So, it's a good number. So 20. I've only been there for a few months. So I've gone even past Lunduke and DistroTube. I'm higher than they are. Way beyond like Chris Titus Tech and all that. The only Linux YouTuber that is ahead of me, I believe, is the Linux Gamer. Other than him, that's it. So, yeah, I have. Yeah, can you believe that? I was gonna have a 50K party, and then suddenly we're at 72. So we're looking. If we're lucky, I don't know. You never know what happens. So, something happens in the news, and then nobody watches my YouTubes. But if we're lucky, then we'll get to 100K in 2020. Because by Thanksgiving, yeah, it's looking like 100K by this year, if not, the first week of January. So if it flows the way it is right now, it's going to be 100K, maybe near Christmas, hopefully. Should right to repair be national law? That is just that is just so zucked up. I don't like any laws that kind of inhibit companies. But on the other hand, if they don't want to have a national right to fix law, why are you supporting Apple? Why are you supporting Apple? Why are you supporting these phones that have non-removable batteries? Have you tried removing a battery on a Pixel? Okay, I don't know if you've ever tried that, but I'm going to tell you right now. If you remove the battery on a Google Pixel that's how many years old now, you'll break it. There is no realistic way that I know of. I don't want to touch it. I already broke one. It is not realistic to expect that any normal person can replace the battery on a Pixel. Because these new devices are made to be waterproof, so they actually, make it cheap. They just put glue all around. So if you open it up, you got to fight the glue. So there's no way. So it's just don't support these companies. If they don't believe in allowing you to repair your phones, then dump it. If you think you can't dump a phone, sell it. Go set up a eBay account and sell it. Somebody will buy your 4S. Somebody will buy your, it doesn't matter how old your phone is. Someone will buy it. So I like old with no update too. Updates are a bloody scam. By the way, my iPhone, as you know, I have an iPhone 10 that never leaves the house. And I use it as my Google Voice. It has no SIM card, so it just sits in there next to my computer. It's kind of like a landline in a way, and its only connection is through Google Voice, because it has notifications in it. I can answer Google Voice through it, and the the funny thing about this phone is that it's angry now. It's angry. iOS is continuously sending me, your phone is not backed up. Your phone is not updated. It's like every time I log in now, I get a bunch of, it used to be like a little bit, and I don't even log in anymore. You're not logged in. You're not doing this. It's like, my gosh, it's like, enough. Can't you tell that I don't want to do anything? They want to force you to update. It's like sucked up. Hold on. Are you holding your BTC? My gosh, BTC. BTC. What is it today? Because, yesterday was practically at the high ever. It's pretty much, the highest ever than most people ever realized. So, yeah, time to sell your BTC. Because it's at the high. So, but I'm not selling any BTC. Hey, you are driving game crazy. What does that mean? Zuck, you, founder, have you tried? Did it work? If you want to play mobile games, you get Lineage, Unlineage, or even if security updates are slow, separate your email and contacts. 20K already? 20K? Where in the hell is Kelp? 20K? Are we at 20K now? Gosh. Wow. Time to sell then. Whenever it's high, it's time to sell. Yep. So that's amazing. 20K. Yep. I guess you're on the moon now. So, yeah. Maybe time to sell some. Whenever it gets that high, you should sell some. Put it in USDC. So you get 2 or 3 prepaid SIMs and swap them around. No, I do not swap them around finger for the moon. So let me tell you the procedure that I have. What I do is I have a normal phone with a normal phone number, my normal one that my family knows and everyone knows. So that's on my normal Google phone that I carry. Okay? I don't give that number out to anyone. And the people who know it are the people who have always known it because, they're family. Other than that, that number is not known. So for anyone else that needs to contact me, I only give out. So if you're searching the internet on the phone number and you see my Google Voice number. So don't try to call me because it's Google Voice. I'm not going to go answer that. I'm just making it clear because many of you call and it's like, you're wasting your time, okay? It goes to Google Voice. It'll transcribe what you say. Sometimes I'll read it, sometimes I won't. But I don't really pay attention to it unless I scheduled a call, in which case I will pick it up. Okay, if I schedule a call, otherwise it doesn't even ring. I don't even, watch it ring. So when a call is scheduled, it goes and forwards to my other phone that has a SIM card. And the SIM card is changing every month. Actually, I'm using the iPhone. So on the iPhone, I told you I didn't put a SIM card on the iPhone. It's actually wrong. I have a temporary SIM card on the iPhone. What I do is that for Google Voice, I use that. And every month I change the SIM card. So the phone number is never the same. So just make sure I forward the phone number from Google Voice. So Google Voice then forwards it to the new number. And then the next month then I get a new SIM card. It's very easy on ting.com. And, I have, 50 SIM cards. I buy them, in bulk of 50. So I have 50 SIM cards. So all I have to do is take off the old SIM card, throw it away, stick it on the phone and activate it. You just have to do it at the right time of month. And there's no extra charge. It's the same. And it costs me about $10 a month because I hardly use it. It's really just like, the occasional number. And I don't even, it actually forwards from Google Voice. So I don't actually call out from it. Can quantum computers decrypt any encryption? Yes, of course. Why don't you use a different service rather than Google Voice? What for? Google Voice is great. You can, it's part of the anonymity is that I'm a nobody. The phone number is a nothing. The account is a nothing. It's an account that doesn't belong to anything. So there's no identity on it. So that's, it's like this. You set up a Gmail account that you don't use. So for social media, let's say you set up, let's see, Rob's Twitter at gmail.com or, Rob Braxman's Twitter at gmail.com. And I use it only for doing Twitter. And I never use the email itself. So there's no data to actually acquire from it. And if I want to send data so that somebody can be sent disinformation, I can do that. You give them a channel for them to pick up. I use Ting, yes. Where do you buy SIM cards in bulk? I bought them directly from Ting. You can buy them from Amazon. Yeah, Canada mobile rates are terrible. A good one. So if you go to BraxMe, I have a referral code. I should really leave my referral codes always on my videos. But I would really appreciate it if you're going to use Ting to use my referral code. So they pay for the next month of service. They pay for the $10. So I really appreciate it when you do that. So as you know, this channel doesn't really survive from the ads. So if you think I'm getting rich from Google advertising here, YouTube advertising, I'm not. What are your thoughts of Tor browser no longer allowing the removable of the HTTPS everywhere extension? Yeah, that bothers me, Maxi Blue, because it can get fingerprinted. I don't like that because it's a fingerprint. It's like saying I'm on Tor browser. My Firefox, which Tor browser is based on Firefox. My Firefox has nothing. So if I have HTTPS anywhere, then I'm announcing I'm on Tor browser. I'm sorry, I don't understand buying SIM cards from Amazon. Are they activated by the service provider? You buy Ting SIM cards from Amazon. You buy Cricket SIM cards from Amazon. You buy, U.S. Cellular SIM cards. You can buy T-Mobile SIM card. You can buy any SIM card from Amazon, and they're the same as what you get from the store. If you go to, let's say, a T-Mobile store, they'll give you a free SIM card. But if you want to buy them, then you can buy them in bulk. Now, it's cheap. It's like 99 cents a piece. The only problem is shipping. So if you buy in bulk, then the shipping doesn't matter. You can buy edible SIM cards. Yum. Thoughts on Matrix protocol? I don't have any good thoughts at the moment. It's not one of the messaging systems I personally recommend. Most people on Matrix use Riot. So they're actually centralized. The protocol is supposed to come from all different places. But because all the users are using Riot, then you basically centralized. So it's not the architecture that gives me the flexibility that I want. It's a little complex for setting up your own servers. I prefer XMPP. How do I need to set up Fire to a Fox to use Firefox? He start our Riot. What don't you support? But what if you don't support the Zucking Amazon company? Buy it from Ting.com. You buy it from the carrier. Go to the carrier store. They sell the SIM cards. You got to understand, SIM cards have the embedded identity of the carrier in it, so you can't exchange SIM cards. So the SIM cards are made for each carrier. So Ting, Mint, Cricket, all that. They all have separate SIM cards. AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint. Verizon. So everyone has their own SIM cards. Now, one other comment I want to make on phones, since we're in the U.S. To me, the most hated in the U.S. my most hated carrier is probably Verizon. Verizon is, well, Sprint too, but Sprint's owned by T-Mobile now. The CDMA carriers are so restrictive on the phones. You have, I know some of you don't have a choice because, rural areas, you typically have to stick with Verizon. But let me tell you, they limit your phone choices. If you go with a GSM carrier like AT&T, T-Mobile, you have just so many more phone choices because it's the same as international. And most international phones can be de-Googled, whereas U.S. phones cannot be de-Googled because Verizon, the carriers, lock the phone. So it really pisses me off. Okay, so that's why I only have a very few Verizon phones, because it's very hard to de-Google a Verizon phone. So what is a Verizon phone I can sell you? A G7 XT1962-1, one model, and maybe a Pixel. That's it. All the other models do not work with Verizon. It's a pain in the butt. So if you don't have to be in Verizon, don't. One of the things that I'm worried about for the future here, kind of like going on a side topic here, is Esim. So right now you go to your phone and you take the SIM card out and you actually stop Stingray, because Stingray can't work without a SIM card because it's an IMSI catcher. There is no IMSI without the SIM card. So if you want to temporarily disable your phone, carry a pin with you, open the tray, take the SIM card out, and suddenly your phone is non-existent. It's not emitting a signal to the cell tower, okay, and saving your battery as well. So if you do that, then you're safe. Well, what happens when you have eSIM? How exactly you turn off eSIM? This is another version of, here we are again, more control. Some smart guy at Apple and Google are coming up with these ideas, and it's like, one more way, just like non-removable batteries, another way to suck us in into a solution where we can't hide. Now, think about this combination, eSIM, 5G. Wow, talk about zebraed. You're going to be really zebraed with that, okay? That's a zebraed combination, okay? 5G with beamforming, so they can find you within, probably inches with beamforming, and then on top of that, you add eSIM so you can't turn it off. Zebra. Sorry. But the automated program from YouTube will demonetize this video again. FRS phone. So you eat an apple. Let's talk about eStim. So anyway, so where possible, I don't want to go. So yes, I will be a Luddite with some of this. I don't need to have the latest tech, because I don't just jump to the latest tech because somebody is promoting it on YouTube or promoting it on Apple or whatever. No, you have to study the tech and see if it's good for you or not. This is the thing that nobody does. I am the only channel that says, hey, don't buy that. That's not safe. For Christmas. This is not Linus Tech Tips. We don't come here and show you all the new products in here. We're going to say, this is a new product, but it's not safe, so don't use that. No, CDMA is not in use, but the restrictions on phones are retained by, even on LTE with Verizon and Sprint, which is like, why? They're all LTE now. All carriers are all LTE on almost the same bands, and yet Verizon says, well, our phones are different. It will only work with X. It doesn't work with any. It just boggles the mind that they do this. It's only in America they do this. Nobody else. In no other country do you have to worry about this. In all other countries, it's the same as an AT&T or T-Mobile phone. It's the same everywhere in the world. So all the phones I sell work everywhere in the world, and the only limitation is in the U.S. If you use an international phone in the U.S. with Verizon, it doesn't work. Pain in the behind, let me tell you. Pain in the behind. Have you heard of Microsoft Pluton new cloud backdoor in all future Intel, AMD, and Qualcomm CPUs? there's so many. There's so many backdoors. You know, I'm no longer like. Is that like supposed to shock me? How many backdoors are there? You know, with IME alone. So for example, the IME the computer I bought, which is a i7-10875 CPU H, i7-10875H CPU. So that does not have vPro. So if you look in the Intel website, no vPro, which means no IME capability, supposedly. On my 8th generation Intel i7, that chip also says it's a H8550U, no Intel IME vPro. So I actually go look at the models and check to see if they have vPro or not. And for the most part, the vPro is on the, which means IME, is mostly on the desktops. So the desktop motherboards, they have not been placing it on the consumer laptops. Business laptops may have it. All the Xeon processors have it, so all of the servers have it. Do iPhones have all Google? No, iPhones have Apple crap. Generate garage is considered content. What? Backdoors, 2 in the stink, 1 in the... yeah, I use Facebook, and next to it, I open 50 tabs to all news website. Doesn't matter if left or right. Yeah, it's better if you do that in a kind of an organized way. Like I said, have a separate browser. Don't confuse the issue. You have a chance to have an open channel with Google. Give them an open channel with clear data. Log into Google, go to YouTube, logged in, and then do the activity you want them to see. And then have another browser with another YouTube where you don't log in, or maybe a different account, probably not logged in, and then in that one you can do whatever you want. Is Google as good as Apple? What kind of question is that? Both are bad. What will Mark Zuckerberg internet look like? Your bathroom will have cameras. That's your new internet with Mark Zuckerberg. Didn't Kelp say in clear sight hide in? I don't know what that means. Google is almost as good as Apple at tracking fools. Facebook is even better. Why do you prefer laptop, not desktop? Oh, you can have a desktop. It's just me. I have a stack of computers. Next to me, I have... How many computers do I have in this room? Next to me, I have a stack of... I'm trying to count now. Nearby, not counting phones, this is just computers. So I have typically 6 laptops, and 3 of which are stacked right next to me. Okay? At least 3 stacked right next to me. And actually, I had 4, but I had to move my MacBook Pro. I had to move it away because I don't use it as often. So I had 4. So because of that, I can't use a desktop. It's impossible. I'm switching. I have too many computers. So, it is my life. People think I should live in a cave, and yet I'm the one with the most computers. So, guys, computers are good. I'm not telling you computers are bad. Just use a VPN on them. Use it for disinformation. Computers are good. Don't be addicted to your phone. I don't know what it is. Tablets are light. Not any tablet, not an iPad, but a Microsoft tablet. Set up the Microsoft tablet the right way and it'll be fine. Okay? You have to set it up the right way. And it's not easy. It's not easy. I didn't tell you it was easy. But you have to set up your tablet the right way and it will be fine. I use Windows. I've turned off all the stuff that needs to be turned off. And Vulcan, I don't have only 4 laptops. I have 6 next to me. That doesn't mean I have 6 laptops. There are easily a dozen. Okay? Because I buy a computer every year. Sometimes, more than one a year. And that doesn't count tablets, phones. So for people who think that this guy is, he's anti-tech, it's like, don't be a fool, okay? For those thinking I'm anti-tech, go read 1984 for a change and see what their idea of tech is. By the way, in 1984, the computers talk to you. Ha ha! Wow! That book was written in 1949. The computers talk to you. The computers spy on you. The computers in 1984 tell you what to do. Now, that's the next step. We're getting close to that. Computers will tell you what to do. CPU is better than phone. A phone has a CPU. I don't know what that means. Hold on. Hold on. What's going on at Periscope? You're in the wrong place here. Is Kindle Fire worse or better than regular Android? It's better than regular Android. But it's kind of limiting. Yeah, it is better than regular Android. It probably does not have some of the code but I can't be certain. It's not open source, so I can't be certain what's actually in a Kindle. I'm going to guess it's better than Google, but I can't tell you for sure. 1984 freaked you out. The bad guys were just like raw. 1984, it's really sad because everything you see around you, if you read 1984, hiding the news, changing news, censoring so that the news did not exist. 1984. Okay? It's depressing to watch 1984 because it doesn't end well. So, that's the reality. We're pushing ourselves to a situation where we want in 1984 that does not end well. So, there you go. Trapezi, hello Trapezi, alive and living. Harmony OS. If it doesn't have any gaps in it, it's fine. Brave New World as well. Problem with 1984 is that they missed on how they got there. That's the problem right there, is that we are following the phase of entering 1984. By the way, in case you didn't know what 1984, the world 1984 is, the reality is 1984 is a communist world. It's a communist world. So some of you leave comments calling me CCP. They look at me and say, you're Chinese, so you're CCP. Zebra you. Okay? And I want to say that in a much stronger way, but I can't because I'm going to get censored here by this platform. But, I am definitely not communist. I definitely do not need to be told by some central authority what to do. So, just so you know, I want to make sure that's clear. Okay? You remember 1984 when you were 9? You remember the book 1984 when you were 9? Or you're actually talking about the year 1984. Do not trust. Liberum is not a company. Purism is a company. Reading 1984 again, it is a good book that will open your eyes. It's very sad, one of the things that you see on 1984 is you're actually, so these two people, the protagonists were going out on a date, and they have to hide because there are microphones sensing them everywhere and cameras everywhere they go, and that's the life. And they thought that, oh, we're evading the cameras. Wrong again. So wrong again. Wi-Fi 6 is not any better than any Wi-Fi. Well, presumably it's faster with AX, but the one that we really want is WPA3. Whatever Wi-Fi it is, you need WPA3, but it's not quite ready yet. Maybe soon. Did you see that Ting has come up with plans? Has come out with plans. What does that mean? What is Ting planning? Which Linux OS do you like? Most of my computers, most of my servers are all Debian based. Why I use Debian based distributions? Because I'm not there for the distribution. I'm not there to get fancy. I'm there to get the job done in as little time as possible. I need to duplicate servers. I need to, have a consistent approach to things. I need to be able to get drivers. By the way, one of the reasons that I use Ubuntu is because Ubuntu often spends the time to find the drivers for your computer. So you often will have less problems with devices with Ubuntu just because they do that. So, and it's just that I don't have time to waste. There's no time. So I'm not. If you want me to try different distros, you go to a different channel because I don't have time for that. I got to focus on what I got to focus on. I do not use I use KeePass. Yes. So I use the probably 50-50 Debian and Ubuntu. Depends on what I'm using it for. Sometimes when you go to Linode, for example, you set up a server and they preset it with Ubuntu or Debian or whatever, and you want to be consistent with this. You know the commands, you know what to do, you know how to set up webmin and this and that and UFW, and you don't want any tricks anymore. You want to just be able to do it very, very, very fast. So since my thing is consistency and reliability, all my servers run on Linux. My platform runs on Linux. Braxme runs on Linux. My mail servers, everything that I do runs on Linux servers. So it doesn't matter what desktop I use. 100% of my servers are Linux, and I have a lot of them. I have a lot of servers, plus my VPN. So I have a lot of servers. I'm on many different data centers, and I've moved a lot of them to Linode now. So I'm still on Amazon, AWS. A community standard was my last night's read on Facebook. Isn't Samsung ecosystem versus Google ecosystem? Don't care about any of that. What you care about is a non-spyable ecosystem, which means, can I de-Google it? So just as a general rule, again, for those of you who just persist in buying phones, do not buy a Samsung phone from a U.S. carrier. Do not buy a Samsung phone. In fact, don't buy a U.S. Samsung phone if you can. Buy a international Samsung phone. They will only work with T-Mobile and AT&T and their resellers. But you will have much more flexibility. If it's not a US one, it can be de-Googled. Samsung can be de-Googled if they're not the US version. If the US version, sell them. If you want a phone that you can be certain can be de-Googled in the future, even though you don't have it de-Googled today, I'm going to give you the tip. And this one you can afford to spend the money on since you know it's going to work. And that is a brand new Pixel. Google Edition. Important thing. You got to buy it from the Google store. Google Edition. I should have like little links so I can make a referral link for some of this, because I don't want to push Google here. But if you buy a Google phone, Pixel, from Google, you will be able to de-Google that at some point. Maybe, next year, a few months. Okay? If you bought your phone and it's not from the Google store, sell it, get one that is a Google Edition. And then you'll be happier. You can come to me and say, could you de-Google my Pixel? And the answer is yes, if it came from the Google store or Google Edition or International Edition, which is Google. Let's see. I'm still starting with baby steps. Okay. What about a pine cell? What is a pine cell? I have a new motherboard for my Pine phone. I got to find the time during this holiday season to take apart my Pine phone and then see what's new with the power saving. Because I wanted to do some programs on a Pine phone, because, I can do programming on a Pine phone. But the power management is still pretty bad on the existing one that I have, the Braveheart edition. It only lasts 6 hours. So I would like a different OS that actually, I don't even need the camera to work. Certain things I don't really care about, as long as I can get the power supply to last a little bit longer, because I can make an LTE router with a Pine phone. I just want it to be reliable. If I can make the data flow reliable on a Pine phone, that's a okay thing to be selling. You can have wouldn't you like a portable Nextcloud? I mean, there's so many things you can do with a portable Linux server. So, yeah, I'm there's things we can do with that. So that's the goal, to have a portable Linux server that you can actually look at the screen. The problem with a Raspberry Pi, for those of you who play with that, is it's very hard. It's not mobile. There's so many parts. There has to be a screen, so it's very hard to move it around. So especially if you want a screen and keyboard. But if you have a Pine phone, all that's built in, and it's actually cheaper than buying a Raspberry Pi with all the stuff in it. So a Pine phone could be used for other things other than a phone, but I just need the OS to be stable, the Linux OS on it. Cricket can't afford a good server, really? I just SSH into Raspberry Pi. Understand, if you're going to do things like LTE, you can't really do that. You got to plug in all these adapters, and it was complicated. And it gets expensive. Again, when you actually think about it, if you have a Raspberry Pi and you put a monitor, a keyboard, and start putting in the dongles, by the time you're done, storage, by the time you're done with all that, you actually end up with a very expensive device. Without a case, you're already up in the $200 range, and without a case, and it's still not portable. A Pine phone has all of that. It really is like a Raspberry Pi that's portable. So, so there are many opportunities to do things with a Pine phone. Once it's stable. Should we use a different browser for Amazon and other e-com sites? I don't worry about Amazon so much, because it's not sharing outside of Amazon, because they don't have the mechanism for that. because nobody puts Amazon things on every website. So they don't insert little code things that Facebook and Google does. So no, I don't. I at least in my case, I put just about everything else in a Firefox. I use eBay, PayPal, Amazon, Braxme, all that. I put it in one browser, and all the other websites I go to in one browser. Then I may need a specialty one for disinformation, another one, which I just told you about. So as long as you don't log into Google on the one on, in my case, the Firefox one or web browser too, don't ever log into Google or Facebook on that browser. Never log into Google or Facebook on that browser, or you're fingerprinted. You might as well buy a new computer, or change your screen resolution, or change your time zone. Something that will change the setup. Okay, guys. So we're out of time here, and happy Thanksgiving to all of you in America, in the U.S. And that's gonna be tough Thanksgiving here. We have a curfew in California. I don't know how we're going to handle Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is very, very big in the U.S. as you know, as we in the U.S. know, but you know, some of you from other countries may not realize that it's a very, very big holiday. And then the day after Thanksgiving is the Black Friday shopping, the biggest shopping day in the U.S. So we'll have to skip that for Cyber Monday. So maybe you'll buy your computers and good safe gadgets you know, after Thanksgiving. Well, we're not going to go anywhere. We're just going to sit at home and wait for the you know, UPS guy to deliver your goods, because you're not going to go out shopping. So it's crazy year, guys. Crazy year. So have a happy Thanksgiving. I'll see if I can it's hard to find the time, but I wanted to go on Periscope and play some piano. So on the Periscope app, because usually I'm there. I'm Rob Music on that. Rob Music on Periscope. And yeah, I'm sometimes I want to do that, and it's just hard to find the time, because now I got to do a video on this new computer I just bought. So anyway, thank you for watching, my friends, and we'll see you in a video sometime. I don't know what the timing of this. Maybe I should do it before Thanksgiving. Maybe I should do sooner rather than later. So see you next week. Have a good holiday. Bye-bye.